So let me guess, you're thinking about moving to Davidson, North Carolina, but you want a little information before you make the move. Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, we are going to cover the top 5 things you need to consider before making the move to Davidson, North Carolina. If you're looking to learn everything that there is to know about Charlotte, North Carolina, the good, the bad, everything in between from work to fun, you've come to the right place. Go ahead and make sure to go ahead and subscribe so you can stay up to date on what's going on in Charlotte. And go ahead and hit the notification button to be the first to be notified of the Charlotte real estate market and everything in between. Hey, I'm 𝗖𝘁 ich𝗁𝘁. I'm a local real estate agent here in Charlotte, and myself and my team get calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you looking to make the move to the area. So whether it's 9 days or 90 days moving across town or across the country, don't hesitate to give us a call, shoot us an email or a text, or go ahead and schedule a Zoom call so we can help you make that move. All our information is in the description and comments below. So let's dive into our real big message for today. What are the top 5 things you need to know and consider before you make the move to Davidson, North Carolina? Well, let's start at the very beginning. What a wonderful place to start. Let's talk about the economy. That's right. This is one of the biggest questions that I get when people are moving into the area is what's the economy like, the population, etc. What are we looking at when we're moving into this town? So here's a little bit of information about the actual economy of Davidson. The job market of Davidson has increased by 2.7% over the last year. Now, here's the cool thing. It's actually slated to increase over the next 10 years, at least this is predictions, should be increasing to 45+% in employment. Now, when we take a look at the U.S. average, what's slated or predicted over the next 10 years for the U.S., that's only sitting at about 33%. What this means for you as someone who's living in that area is that there is going to be an increase in jobs and a better economy predicted over the next 10 years. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in today. I want to make sure I know what's coming. So while I can't promise, my crystal ball is still on back order. I can tell you that that's what's being predicted based on statistics from our census bureaus as well as our economic departments. Now, another thing to note when taking a look at the economy as a whole is what? Taxes. That's right. What is it actually going to cost you to live in Davidson when it comes to taxes? Well, I've got great news for you. The sales tax rate for Davidson is 7.3%, and the income tax rate in Davidson is 5.5%. Now, what's even greater about this is your tax rate for your home. Are you ready for this? I know some of you are from California, New York, might be rolling over right now and want to make the move today, but your actual tax rate for your home is just 0.81. That's right, it's just 0.81%. That's a huge far cry from what I know from some people in Connecticut, the Northeast, way out west on the West Coast. So if you're looking to get a bang for your buck, not only for your house, but also paying less in taxes, you know where to go. Now, the other piece that has to go with the economy is what? What people are earning. So there's 2 different pieces here. There's the average and then there's the median income. Now, these are both going to be starkly different for Davidson because, as I said earlier, this is a college town. So college towns means that what? There's a much younger population. Some of the people living in Davidson might not actually be earning an income at all. These are taken into the average, which is why we look at both. The average income of an individual in Davidson is $48,000 per year. Now, this is when compared with the U.S. average of $28,000 a year, it's still quite a bit higher. Now, here's where we see our stark difference. When we look at the median household income of Davidson, it's $95,000. The U.S. average for median household income is $53,000. So as you can see, there's quite a difference there. And when we're looking at this, the median actually is what's probably going to hold solid for this particular area. Why? Because of the demographics of the area and ages of the area. There are more people that are of an older age. And when I say older, I didn't say old, but of an older age, which means they actually are more established in their careers, potentially retired. And there's also a large portion that is of college age. So when we're looking at that, most of them do not have employment at all in some cases, or they're working with low employment or low dollar amount for their salaries. So when you come in those combined, this is what helps make Davidson such an affluent town and is rated as one of the top affluent suburbs of Charlotte. So this brings me to my second point. What's the second thing that you need to know before moving to Davidson? Let's talk a little bit about the actual population. Who lives there? Well, first let's take a look at what the actual population is. There's almost 15,000 people in Davidson, North Carolina, which is saying a lot because it's not a very big location. This is about 2,300 people per square mile. Now, when I point that out, what I'm pointing out is the actual population density. If you take a look at our walkthrough Davidson or our map walkthrough of Davidson, you're going to have a better understanding of where this density truly is and where it's a little bit more spread out, which is why we talk about population growth and sprawl of the town. Now, the median age in Davidson is 37 years old. The United States population median age is 35. So you can see where those are very similar. Biggest reason for that is because in Davidson, as I said, there are some that are very large population of 65 and older, and a very large population of those that are under 25, bringing a nice median number. And also sticking with the averages of the United States, the average number of people in each household is 2.5. That's right, usually just 2 people in a house, maybe a little baby on the way, but this is about the average in Davidson. So let's take a look at some of the statistics. Now, this comes directly from the Census Bureau, so I am quoting what they're saying, but feel free to go look this up as well. The percentage of married individuals of the population of Davidson is 51. That's right, a little over 51% of people are married. 9.5% of the population are divorced. 41% married with children, not the TV show, an actual statistic. And 12.4% have children but are single for any which reason. So if these are some things that you're looking for, especially as you're making your move, it might be something you want to look a little bit more into. Now, one of the next biggest questions that I get is cost of living. Now, like I said in future or previous videos, I originally grew up in New York, and yes, the cost of living is absolutely insane. Now, I know it's the same up north, the same out west on the West Coast, and there's a lot of pockets in between that can be rather expensive. Here's the cool thing. Davidson, it's a little bit high for North Carolina and when compared to the US. But here's the neat thing. A lot of the activities that you're doing, you can go outside of Davidson to take advantage of. So let's dive into what the numbers really look like. Now, when we're reading these numbers, or when I'm telling you these numbers, when you're reading on a scale, 100 is where the baseline average for the United States is. So think number 100 is the baseline for the United States. Now, the cost of living just in Davidson is 116.8. What this means is it's 16.8% higher or points higher than the rest of the United States average. North Carolina is 91. So in fact, North Carolina in the whole, or average of North Carolina, is far lower than what Davidson is. Now, mind you, a lot comes into play when we're talking about why this is. Groceries, health, housing, median income, median home price, all of these things play a factor. And when we're looking at a town that is known for being affluent or one of the wealthiest suburbs of Charlotte, this is why the living costs are a little bit higher, why it's ranked higher. So let's take a look at the details of what makes this up. Grocery costs are at 103, while the rest of North Carolina is at 96. Is health. Now, health actually comes under the North Carolina average. It's at 95, while North Carolina is at 107. Let's talk housing. Now, housing is where things really ramp it up. Housing is at 159. Remember, the U.S. average is 100. North Carolina, 83. Now, let's take a look at the actual prices here. Median home income, or I'm sorry, median home cost is what we're looking at. So the median home cost. In Davidson, it's 463, and some of those numbers change from day to day depending on what the market is doing. But North Carolina is 242,000, so you can see how that's a big sway. Now, to give you another bullet point, the U.S. average is 291. So you can see how Davidson, North Carolina has a much higher median house cost or median home cost. While utilities for Davidson is about the same as the rest of North Carolina, we're looking at 98 versus 99. The other difference is going to be transportation. Davidson is set at 110, while the rest of North Carolina is at 89. Now, a lot of the factors that come into this is what's available for public transit, etc. What are the cost of gas? There's several different factors, but obviously it runs a little bit higher. Does this mean you shouldn't move here? I don't think so, because there's plenty of other great advantages, but we'll let you make that call. Now, let's talk a little bit about politics. I know, I'm not going to be that guy, but here's the thing. I have zero opinion on this. I just want to make sure that you're getting to the right place where you feel like you fit in. Now, Davidson, North Carolina does lean more liberal and democratic when it comes to its polls and voting. Now, this is looking at the past several years. The last time that a Republican was awarded or voted in was in 2000. And since then, most voting has swayed on the liberal, or should I say Democratic side. Now, when looking at the rest of Mecklenburg County, which is the county that encompasses Charlotte, about 66% of people did vote Democratic in our most recent elections. In fact, Mecklenburg County over the last 5 elections has voted primarily Democratic. Now, many people also are interested in finding out more about campaign contributions. So let's talk about that real quick. The individual contributions from Davidson, North Carolina alone, in the last 4 years, there were 3,200 people that were able to contribute to campaigns on the Democratic side, totaling $409,000. Now, these campaigns were primarily Democratic and liberal in nature, which makes up about $127 per person contributing to these campaigns. Now, this is a very interesting part. On the flip side, over the last 4 years, there were 1,300 people that contributed to the Republican campaigns, totaling $645,000. Now, I say this is interesting because, well, there was more contributions from a dollar standpoint, but less in a per person standpoint, making the Republican contributions about $467 per person contributing. So what does this say about Davidson as a whole? Is there a very large portion of people that are liberal or Democratic, but perhaps there are some that are on the Republican side that actually do have more of the wealth? You go ahead and make that synopsis, but this information is all available on our local websites with regards to polling and numbers. Now, last but certainly not least, when you're making a move and you have kids, you want to know what the best schools are. Here are the top 3 schools, both elementary, middle, and high school, for Davidson, North Carolina. Now, Davidson, like I said, is a very small town. 3 private schools that are in Davidson, totaling 5 schools. Some of the schools that are here are also charter schools. In fact, there is a charter school that goes from K through 12. It is the highest rated school. Now, it is a public charter, but you do have to apply to enter and enter with a lottery. Once you're in, which means most people don't leave often. Better student to teacher ratio, meaning less students per teacher, which means better attention and better possibilities to get into the colleges of their choice. The Children's Community School is our charter school in Davidson, and it is rated an 8 out of 10 scale. Now, mind you, this is looking at college readiness, it's looking at equity, and it takes several other things into consideration. Well, after I run through all of those, I'll also give you the website to go look all these stats up yourself, including additional statistics that may make a difference in making your decision. Now, the main public school that we have for Davidson is Davidson Elementary. Davidson Elementary is rated a 7 out of 10. Now, the interesting part about this, there's 3 different valuations that they look at. The first one is going to be test scores, which is a 10 out of 10. The second is going to be student progress, which is a 6 out of 10. That means how well are they moving and transitioning from grade to grade. And third is going to be equity. This is looking at the actual income levels in the area. It's looking at ethnicity. And for Davidson, for this particular elementary school, it's 3 out of 10. Now, a lot of this goes back to the demographics of the area, so it's not anything to be upset about. It's not anything bad, but it is just an element of the area itself, and it is what it is. One of the great things is there are 13 students to every 1 teacher. That means a lot of hands-on care. And 100% of the teachers that teach there have 3 years of experience or more. Now let's take a look at the middle school in Davidson. Now here's an interesting thing. There is not a public middle school right in Davidson. Instead, it's actually in Cornelius. But like I had said in a previous video, because of the growth and sprawl, people are interconnecting in different ways, and going over the border into another town is not the end of the world, and the students are still getting a great education. So the middle school that services Davidson is Bailey Middle School. Now, one of the great things about this particular middle school, it is rated a 9 out of 10. How amazing is that? That's right. It gets a 10 out of 10 in test scores, a 10 out of 10 in student progress, and it is an 8 out of 10 out of the equity score. Again, this goes into a few different demographics as well as incomes. Now this has 1,700 students from grades 6 to 8. Yes, in case you're coming from out of the state, in North Carolina, middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I know up north in some areas out west, it's only 7th and 8th. Here we have 3 years of middle school. Now the student to teacher ratio is 16 students to 1 teacher. And 99% of the teachers in the school have 3 years of experience or more. So lastly, let's take a look at high school. Once again, there isn't a high school right in Davidson, but there's a phenomenal high school just over the border in Cornelius, which is where all the students go. William Amos High School is a highly rated high school in the area. Rating a 9 out of 10, it's rated an 8 out of 10 in testing, a 10 out of 10 in college readiness, which is what you want for your high school student, and it's rated a 5 out of 10 in equity. Once again, quite a bit that goes into that. It services 2,500 students from grades 9 through 12, and it has a 16 to 1 student to teacher ratio. Last but not least, 95% of the teachers that are in the school have 3 or more years of experience, which is great when you're trying to get your student ready for college. Now, if you're looking for more resources with regards to schools, go to greatschools.org for even more detailed information. And if you're looking for a particular house, you can plug that address in, find out exactly what school services that home. So we heard a lot about those 5 topics. I know your mind is probably melting a little bit, and there's plenty of places where you can go to find more information. I'll make sure to put some links in the description below, so if you want to do a more detailed dive and find out more about this particular community, you have everything at your fingertips. Now remember, if you are moving 9 days or 90 days, whether it's across the country or across the state and the continent, you give us a call. We'd love to make sure that you have the simplest and smoothest move possible. And until my next video, I look forward to showing you around town.